Good morning. Thank you for joining me in this morning mindfulness practice. Right inner speech is essential. It is the greatest of the arts. It is the way out of limitation into freedom. That's from The Coin of Heaven, written by Neville Goddard in his book Awakened Imagination. And he says, ignorance of this art has made the world a battlefield and penitentiary where blood and sweat alone are expected, when it should be a place of marveling and wondering. Right inner talking is the first step to becoming what you want. Speech is an image of mind, and mind is an image of God. That comes from Hermetica, Volume 1. Now, yesterday I started to read the chapter, The Coin of Heaven, and I talked about, are you investing your time or are you wasting your time? And this is the second half of the chapter where Neville Goddard actually gets into explaining what is meant. He tells a story that on April 12th, on the morning of April 12th, 1953, my wife was awakened by the sound of a great voice of authority speaking within her and saying, "You must stop spending your thoughts, time, and money. Everything in life must be an investment. To spend is to waste, to squander, to lay out without return. To invest is to lay out for a purpose from which a profit is expected." This revelation of my wife is about the importance of the moment. It is about the transformation of the moment. What we desire does not lie in the future, but in ourselves at this moment. At any moment in our lives, we are faced with an infinite choice: what we are and what we want to be. And what we want to be is already existent, but to realize it, we must match our inner speech and actions to it. In the Bible, Matthew 18, verse 19 says, "If two of you shall agree on earth as touching anything that they shall ask, it shall be done for them of my Father, which is in heaven." Neville Goddard says it is only what is done now that counts. The present moment does not recede into the past. It advances into the future to confront us, spent or invested. Thought is the coin of heaven. Money is its earthly symbol. Every moment must be invested, and our inner talking reveals whether we are spending or investing. What are you saying to yourself? Your words matter. Your words precede your life. What you talk about, you bring about. That's a really important concept, because when you speak harshly about yourself, your life, your circumstances, it magnifies the challenges, the difficulties. Neville Goddard says, be more interested in what you are inwardly saying now than what you have said, by choosing wisely what you think and what you feel now. Anytime we feel misunderstood, misused, neglected, suspicious, afraid, we are spending our thoughts and wasting our time. Whenever we assume the feeling of being what we want to be, we are investing. We cannot abandon the moment to negative inner talking and expect to retain command of life. Before us, goes the results of all that seemingly is behind. Not gone is the last moment, but oncoming. Isaiah 55:11, my word shall not return unto me void, but it shall accomplish that which I please, and it shall prosper in the thing whereto I sent it. The circumstances of life are the muffled utterances of the inner talking that made them, the word made visible. The word, said Hermes, is son, and the mind is father of the word. They are not separate from one another, for life is the union of word and mind. James 1 verse 18, he willed us forth from himself by the word of truth. Let us be imitators of God as dear children, says Ephesians 5:1, and use our speech wisely to mold an outer world in harmony with our ideal. What is your ideal? What do you truly want? What is planted in your heart? Peace, love, joy, purposeful work, loving relationships? Then you must speak about them as if they are already that, not moaning and complaining that they're the opposite, because whatever you talk about, you add energy to. You focus on what you don't want, and then you wonder why it keeps getting worse, bigger in your experience. It's really important to understand this concept that what you think about, what you speak about, you start acting in accordance with your thoughts and feelings, with your words. Your actions match your thoughts and feelings. So your actions produce your results. If you want different results, don't blame circumstances. Don't blame other people, the environment, the economy. Just sit still and decide what it is that you really want and get in harmony with that, the frequency of what you desire. You must talk about it and feel as if it's already here now. And then it manifests into your third dimensional physical reality. Your results become what you think about. Neville Goddard quotes, the Lord spake by me, and his word was in my tongue. That's 2 Samuel 23:2. The mouth of God is the mind of man. Feed God only the best. Whatsoever things are of good report, think on these things. Philippians 4:8. The present moment is always precisely right for an investment, to inwardly speak the right word. Deuteronomy 30:14-15 says, the word is very near to you, in your mouth and in your heart, that you may do it. See, I have set before you this day life and good, death and evil, blessings and cursings. Choose life. You choose life and good and blessings by being that which you choose. Like is known to like alone. Make your inner speech bless and give good reports. Man's ignorance of the future is the result of his ignorance of his inner talking. His inner talking mirrors his imagination, and his imagination is a government in which the opposition never comes into power. If the reader asks, what if the inner speech remains subjective and is unable to find an object for its love? The answer is, it will not remain subjective, for the very simple reason that inner speech is always objectifying itself. What frustrates and festers and becomes the disease that afflicts humanity is man's ignorance of the art of matching inner words to fulfill desire. Inner speech mirrors imagination, and Neville Goddard says imagination is Christ. Alter your inner speech, and your perceptual world changes. Whenever inner speech and desire are in conflict, inner speech invariably wins. Because inner speech objectifies itself, it is easy to see that if it matches desire, desire will be objectively realized. Now he gets really graphic. Were this not so, I would say with Blake, sooner murder an infant in its cradle than nurse unacted desires. But I know from experience, the tongue setteth on fire the course of nature. That last quote is from the Bible, James 3, verse 6. The tongue setteth on fire the course of nature. What do you really want? Do you sit still and ask yourself? In stillness, you will find an answer. You will hear the voice of God. You will connect to the infinite frequency of the life that you desire, not worrying about it, stressing, looking at all the reasons and all the evidence that it's not yet here, but speaking it into existence in your heart, in your mind, in your actions, with faith that what you want is yours. When you get into the habit of thinking, speaking, acting as if you already have a beautiful life, you already are abundantly blessed, you already are divinely protected, you already have planted the seed of what you truly desire, allow it to unfold, allow the seed to grow. Think of yourself as a farmer. You've planted the seed of what you desire. You don't talk about it as if it's never happening. You wait patiently and know that the crop will be harvested in the right time. Neville Goddard goes on in chapter 6, it is within. Rivers, mountains, cities, villages are all human, and when you enter into their bosoms, you walk in heavens and earths, as in your own bosom you bear your heaven and earth, and all you behold, though it appears without, it is within. In your imagination, of which this world of mortality is but a shadow. The author Blake writes that in Jerusalem, the inner world was so real to Blake as the outer land of waking life. He looked upon his dreams and his visions as the realities of the forms of nature. Blake reduced everything to the bedrock of his own consciousness. In the Bible, Luke 17, verse 21, the kingdom of heaven is within you. The real man, the imaginative man, has invested the outer world with all of its properties. The apparent reality of the outer world, which is so hard to dissolve, is only proof of the absolute reality of the inner world of his own imagination. No man can come to me except the Father which hath sent me draw him. I and my Father are one. Those quotes are from John in the Bible. The world which is described from observation is a manifestation of the mental activity of the observer. When man discovers that his world is his own mental activity made visible, that no man can come unto him except he draws him, and that there is no one to change but himself, the own imaginative self, his first impulse is to reshape the world in the image of his ideal. But his ideal is not so easily incarnated. In that moment, when he ceases to conform to external discipline, he must impose upon himself a far more rigorous discipline, the self-discipline upon which the realization of his ideal depends. Imagination is not entirely untrammeled and free to move at will without any rules to constrain it. In fact, the contrary is true. Imagination travels according to habit. Imagination has choice, but it chooses according to habit. Awake or asleep, man's imagination is constrained to follow certain definite patterns. It is the benumbing influence of habit that man must change. If he does not change his habits, his dreams will fade under the paralysis of custom. Imagination, which is Christ in man, is not subject to the necessity to produce only that which is perfect and good. It exercises its absolute freedom from necessity by endowing the outer physical self with free will to choose to follow good or evil, choose to follow order or disorder. Choose this day whom ye will serve, is a quote from Joshua 24, verse 15. But after the choice is made and accepted so that it forms the individual's habitual consciousness, then imagination manifests its infinite power and wisdom by molding the outer sensuous world of becoming in the image of the habitual inner speech and actions of the individual. To realize his ideal, man must first change the pattern which his imagination has followed. Habitual thought is indicative of character. The way to change the outer world is to make the inner speech and action match the outer speech and action of fulfilled desire. Our ideals are waiting to be incarnated, but unless we ourselves match our inner speech and action to the speech and action of fulfilled desire, they are incapable of birth. Inner speech and action are the channels of God's action. He cannot respond to our prayer unless these paths are offered. The outer behavior of man is mechanical. It is subject to the compulsion applied to it by the behavior of the inner self. The old habits of the inner self hang on until replaced by new ones. It is a peculiar property of the second or inner man that he gives to the outer self something similar to his own reality of being. Any change in the behavior of the inner self will result in corresponding outer changes. Neville Goddard says the mystic calls a change of consciousness death. By death, he means not the destruction of imagination and the state with which it was fused, but the dissolution of their union. Fusion is union rather than oneness. Thus, the conditions to which that union gave being vanish. I die daily, said Paul to the Corinthians. And Blake said to his friend, Crabby Robinson, there is nothing like death. Death is the best thing that can happen in life, but most people die so late and take such an unmerciful time in dying. God knows their neighbors never see them rise from the dead. To the outer man of sense who knows nothing of the inner man of being, this is sheer nonsense. But Blake made the above quite clear when he wrote in the year before he died, William Blake, one who is very much delighted with being in good company, born the 27th of November 1757 in London, and has died several times since. When man has the sense of Christ as his imagination, he sees why Christ must die and rise again from the dead to save man, why he must detach his imagination from his present state and match it to a higher concept of himself if he would rise above his present limitations and thereby save himself. You save yourself when you decide you're going after a big, beautiful dream, and the old version of you, what you previously complained about, were jealous about, fought against, that version of you is dead, so that you can rise to become the person that you want to be. The becoming. What version of you is ideal? What do you want to draw into your life? You must let go of the disbelief, the anger, the jealousy, the habitual patterns, because we see life through our beliefs. And when we have a core belief that that's just how it is, we don't make room for what we truly want. What we believe becomes true for us. And so we must practice thinking about acting as if we already have our heart's desire. Be still and know that I am God is from the Bible. In the chaos, in the earthquake, in the fires, in the wind, God said, be still and know. If you sit still, no outside distractions, no worries about what is coming next, what you have to do, Put down your to-do list for a moment and write a new chapter in your life. Write what it is you desire. Take a pen and paper and write down a goal that you wish to accomplish, a destination that you want to reach, something that previously was a wish, a hope, a dream. Write it down and make it a definite goal. Write it in the present tense, not I wish or I hope or I want, but I am so happy and grateful now that. And as you write what it is that you desire, think about what that would feel like. You already have the goal. It's in your imagination. It's in your heart. How would you be acting? How would you be behaving? What would you be doing today if your goal was manifest? If today your goal came true, your wish came true, you got what you truly desired, whether it's a material, physical thing, or a feeling in your heart, how would your relationships be today if that was true for you? Act as if that is true, and God will change the hearts of mankind. He will change your mind. He will change what you experience. But you must have faith and belief. Think about it as if it's already here now. It's in your heart, it's in your mind. Start acting as if it's true. Your outer circumstances will change. Any change in the behavior of the inner self will result in corresponding outer changes. Create a wonderful day. Thank you for joining me in this morning mindfulness practice. This week has been very deep, powerful words from the great Neville Goddard. Ponder them over the weekend. See if you can behave as if you already have your desire. Enjoy your weekend, and I'll see you back here Monday morning at 7. Oh, today is Thursday. I will see you back here tomorrow morning, Friday morning at 7. Thank you.